As in the title of this video is going to be some hip-hop thoughts and some hip-hop recommendations as far as albums this year so far that I would recommend from the hip-hop industry. And actually this year so far has actually been a pretty good year for hip-hop, I would say. Now as far as within the mainstream, you got like trash like Soulja Boy, Lil Wayne and stuff like that, but overall as the industry, as far as the underground and independent circuit right now for hip-hop, it's been very good. Like I'll show you right now, this is actually the first year I can ever remember in a little while that I've actually bought this many CDs right here within, span of half a year. Now the first album is the only one out of these that I'm going to be talking about that I would say not a recommendation, but it's not a bad album nonetheless. It's the Mass Movements album, The Album, and it's good stuff on there. If you're a fan of Slain and Ill Bill, I would recommend it to fans of them. And it showcases that the Boston area is starting to, start being a hotbed for hip-hop right up there. So definitely it's a good CD, and it's a lot of, artists I've never heard of. So overall it's a good CD. Like if I would have to, rate it on like a 5 scale, I would give it probably, 3 out of 5. It's, it's not completely, it's a little above average, I would say. Next album is X-Clan, the Mainstream Outlaws, and this is a very good album. Now, X-Clan, they've been around for a long time, but if you are unfamiliar with X-Clan, the best way to compare them as far as their type of sound, obviously it's, the conscious, political, hip-hop sound. And I would say if you're not familiar with the best people to compare them with is probably a little mix of KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, mixed with a little Dead Prez and Public Enemy as well. So that's the type of sound. If you like those, if you like KRS-One, if you like Boogie Down Productions, like Public Enemy, you should like X-Clan. It's definitely a very good album, and you should be able to find that one in stores. Now a lot of these that I'm going to be talking about might not be able to find in stores because unfortunately the way record stores out now, even places like Best Buy, Barnes & Noble's, FYE, they're completely terrible at carrying, anything that's not like a Lil Wayne, a Soulja Boy, if it deals in the rap or hip-hop genre. There's a couple artists that are like independent artists that will always be able to find, Best Buy, FYE, and stuff like that, like an Ill Bill, Mortal Technique, and a couple other artists. But for the most part, a lot of these underground artists, independent artists, you have to, go a little different, more of a length to get their material, but it's well worth it considering how much better it is than what's in the mainstream. Next album is NASA, The Spirit of Apollo, and this album is very good right here. This album I would highly recommend. I would give it easily 4.5 out of 5. It's probably the closest thing that has been like a great hip-hop alternative since the days of A Tribe Called Quest. It's very good stuff. I would say this CD right here, NASA, The Spirit of Apollo, is a CD that and the type of CD that Kanye West tried to do with 808s and Heartbreak last year, but it really didn't work out for him, at least in my opinion, just because I really hate the whole audio tuner bullshit. Next album, now this album right here is a very underrated album, and you can buy this CD right here on undergroundhiphop.com. It's only, I think, $9.99. It's an artist, Sunrise Above, Prisoners of War. I'll show you the cover once again, and that album right there I would highly recommend to anyone. It's very good. If you're a fan of Immortal Technique, you would definitely like Sunrise Above. Next album is not really an album, it's kind of a EP to hype up his album that's going to be either coming out later this year or early next year, and it's Brother Ali, The Truth Is Here. And overall I would say for a CD it has 9 tracks on it, it's very good. And for the price of it, it's only like $10 at even places like Best Buy, FYE. So I would highly recommend that. Like I said, most of these CDs I'm talking about right here that I'm showing you, the only one I would probably stay clear of or wouldn't highly recommend to buy is the Mass Movement CD, The Album, which is not bad. Like I said, I would only recommend it to people that are like huge fans of Ill Bill, Slain, or a couple of the other artists in there from the Boston area. Next CD is Doom, Born Like This, and this is a very good CD, kind of like the NASA CD, a little different alternative hip-hop sound, which I like within hip-hop, because, within even the independent hip-hop and underground hip-hop, even within that, even though it's a whole lot better than the mainstream, you get a lot of artists that sometimes sound the same, which if the material's good, it doesn't really matter, but I like, a little variety even in hip hop genre. So it's good, you know, for, you know, Doom, aka MF Doom. If you're a fan of them, if you're a fan of MF Doom, I would definitely recommend you to get that album. Very good stuff right there. Next album, now this album is kind of a reissue. It's a CD called, the group is Company Flow Fun Crusher Plus, and this is an album that came out in 1997 and it just got remastered or reissued within the last, I think, month or two, and it's pretty much a group comprised of 2 artists. Probably some people might know one artist, definitely ELP, and Big Just, and the DJ is DJ Mr. Len, aka Space Ghost, and definitely is a very good CD. Now I see why this album right here is definitely like an underground hip hop classic that came back out in '97, and you gotta just think, even, you know, to this day, that album is very good. I enjoy it a whole lot. That would probably be like one of my favorite ones out of these ones I'm listing, but since it's obviously, you know, a reissue, I'm not going to say, okay, that's the best album of 2009, since obviously the album came out in 1997, but definitely it's a very good album. If you never heard it before, I would highly, highly recommend you to get that. I kind of just took, you know, a chance with it, because, you know, right here, kind of, you know, I heard like a couple of these songs on it. I kind of like, okay, from the titles and the cover, kind of sold me with that, so I wanted to check it out that way. Okay, then the next 2 CDs that I'm going to be talking about, these next 2 CDs along with the Sunrise Above Prisoners of War, are kind of like almost in a 3-way tie as far as what album I think is the best album of this year as far as within hip-hop, because it's kind of hard to narrow it down just to one album this year, because I think all 3 of them, the Sunrise Above Prisoners of War, the CD right here, Mr. Lif, I heard it today, which is very good. I think, you know, you pretty much will be sold on that CD if you just look up the song. Let me make sure I got the right name. Welcome to the World. If you look up that song, Welcome to the World, Mr. Lif, I would definitely recommend you check that out. And it's a very good CD. You know, along with Sunrise Above, the NASA CD, and now this next CD, which is a compilation CD that was done by Gorilla Funk Records, is Paris Presents Hard True Soldiers Volume 2. Anyone that's unfamiliar with Paris has been doing his thing for probably the last almost 20 years, and he rose to fame in the early 90s with a song called Bush Killer. And then back in 2003 came out with the song What Would You Do? Probably one of the very first hip-hop songs, or anything within hip-hop, or any, you know, music genre that was actually, you know, questioning the events of 9/11. And, you know, he's definitely a very, you know, conscious hip-hop artist, and definitely his material is very good. I would recommend you, if you never heard of Paris, you know, check out his stuff. Go to GorillaFunk.com, buy, you know, Sonic Jihad, buy Sleeping with the Enemy, by any of his albums. Acid Reflux, his album that came out last year, that was very good. In this album right here, Hard True Soldiers Volume 2, very good stuff on here. Has 2 or 3 new tracks from Paris, and probably one of the songs that I would say, yeah, it's hard to believe, but it's actually one of my favorite Paris songs that he's ever done. This on this CD right here, and it's track number 1 called Martial Law. I would definitely have you look up that song if you just want to get a little preview of what it sounds like. So like I said, these are just a couple albums that I want to recommend. Now let me get on to the next part of the video, where I'm going to kind of like talk about a couple albums that are be coming out from right now up until about the end of August that should be very good. Okay, now the first one is kind of a hype up CD for their official CD. This will either be coming out later this year or early next year, and it's going to be Dead Prez and DJ Green Lantern presents The Pulse of the People. So it'll be kind of like the DJ Green Lantern Immortal Technique CD that came out last summer, The Third World, where it's going to be pretty much, you know, a prequel to things to come down the line, because they're coming out with the Information Age either later this year or early next year. It's conflicting when it's going to come out, but this album is actually coming out this coming Tuesday. Probably very few of you probably even know it's coming out, which if you're a fan of Dead Prez, I would definitely recommend you to get this. I'm definitely going to be ordering it within the next few days, because just from the samples I've heard from it and 1 or 2 of the songs, sounds like it's a very good album. If you're a fan of Dead Prez, like I said, this is a CD you're probably going to definitely want to get. Next one is an album that I know some people, especially, I know there's a lot of Joe Buttons fans online, so they're coming out with a Slaughterhouse CD, which is Joe Buttons, Royce the 5'9", Joel Ortiz, and Crooked Eye, which in my opinion, Crooked Eye is the best of the four from Slaughterhouse, and that's probably the main reason why I'm even interested in the CD. Now, I'll say Joe Buttons is a good artist, but I think he has somewhat of an ego where he thinks he's like one of the greatest rappers going today, but I guess you can pretty much say that with any rapper, no matter if it's, you know, an independent artist or it's a mainstream artist. I guess a lot of artists think that anyway, so I can't really say he's the only one that obviously thinks that. I mean, just look at Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne thinks he's the greatest rapper alive, which is a completely insane joke. That's not even funny. And the main reason why I'm looking forward to this CD is, like I said, it's because of Crooked Eye is going to be on this album. It's coming out on July 7th. Next album is an album that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, and this is La Coca Nostra. This is Everlast, Ill Bill, Slain, and I think one or two other people within the group, and they do a very good work. This is an album that's pretty much been hyped up probably for the last year or two, and it's finally looks like it's definitely going to be coming out on July 14th, just in case if nothing gets it to be pushed back. Next one is Raekwon, Only Built for Cuban Link 2. You know, Only Built for Cuban Link, his first album that came back out in, I think it was 94 or 95. Probably one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, and definitely one of the best albums from any of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So definitely this is going to be hard to live up to Only Built for Cuban Link #1, but Raekwon's always, you know, has great material, so he possibly can, but that's going to be hard to top Only Built for Cuban Link. And this album is tentatively scheduled to be coming out on August 11th, just in case, you know, some of these are the dates that probably are going to come out, but one or two of them, especially Only Built for Cuban Link, we've been waiting for that forever, so hopefully it doesn't get pushed back again. And the next album is KRS-One and Buckshot presents Survival Skills, and this album is coming out on August 25th, and I'm a huge fan of KRS-One. KRS-One is probably easily one of my top favorite rappers of all time. I think the only rapper I can say that I like more than him is Rakim. Now on to about 5 or 6 albums that are like I'm highly anticipating, and these are albums that are taking forever to come out. These are like, when will they ever come out? The first one being obviously on any hip-hop fans list is obviously Dr. Dre's Detox. And this album seems like it might come out later this year, but I'm highly doubting it since it's been held back so long. This is an album that's pretty much been talked about for the last 10 years, and I'm not going to really believe it until I actually see, you know, a music video, or at least see some productional, some, you know, stuff hyping it up in magazines saying it's coming out this day, and then even that I wouldn't believe. I wouldn't really believe that CD is actually out until I go to the store, see it, and actually, you know, purchase that CD. And then the next one is Saigon's Greatest Story Never Told. Now, he just released a mixtape that's called the prequel to The Greatest Story Never Told, with 2 or 3 unreleased tracks, and then kind of other tracks where, if you're unfamiliar with Saigon's work, he pretty much puts all his best work together within this one mixtape. And you can find this mixtape on DatPiff. It's DATPIFF.com. Just sign up on there and look for Saigon, and you'll be able to find this album, this mixtape on there. And hopefully his album comes out. This album I've been waiting for probably since 2004. Ever since, that would have been the perfect time for him to come out with the album if he would have been able to, because he had the whole thing with his guest appearance on Entourage, and that was hyping him up, and he's kind of fell off a little bit as far as on the radar of most hip-hop fans, but definitely his album I'm looking forward to. Another album I've been waiting for, which is another independent artist, Papoose, his album, The Nasarima Dream. This album's pretty much been hyped up since either 05 or 06, and hopefully it comes out, but this album, probably like Saigon's, like Dr. Dre's, will come out, but it will take, you know, a long time for it to actually ever come out. Then the next one is album that's probably just like Dr. Dre, just like all these, and this is Rakim, The Seventh Seal. Now, it was looking like this album might be coming out this upcoming Tuesday, but obviously it isn't going to be coming out this next Tuesday because there's not even one song that anyone's probably ever heard from this album. So obviously it's not coming out this coming Tuesday, so obviously this album's going to get pushed back again. Hopefully it comes out later this year, but I highly doubt it will. Rakim and Dr. Dre, they're great artists, but they take forever to finally come out with, you know, a CD of themselves. Then the next two are from the same artist, Moral Technique. The first one is going to be The Middle Passage. This album is going to be coming out right before Revolutionary Volume 3. And this album, both of them are probably going to be coming out maybe next year. Middle Passage has been one he's been talking about forever, and Revolutionary Volume 3 has been talked about for a long time as well. You had The Third World that came out last year, so hopefully these albums come out very soon from Moral Technique. He's definitely one of the best independent artists right now. It's definitely artists if you never heard of, you need to check out. So just wanted to come on here, give my thoughts and recommendations on some hip-hop albums that from this year I would definitely recommend. Main ones I would recommend that I've talked about as far as ones that have already came out is Paris Presents Hard True Soldiers Volume 2, Mr. Lift, I Heard It Today, Sunrise Above Prisoners of War, and NASA, The Spirit of Apollo, and the X-Clan CD Mainstream Outlaws. Those are definitely the top 5 hip-hop albums this year so far. And if you never heard of Company Flow, the group that ELP, Big Just, and DJ Len, aka Space Ghost, did back in the day in '97, is being reissued, I would definitely recommend that. But since that's not an album this year, I don't want to put that in my top 5, even though album-wise I would put it easily in the top 5 because it's very good material. And just wanted to come on here, like I said, give my thoughts on that, hype up some albums that are going to be coming out within the next 2 months, and then give some of my albums that I'm really anticipating a lot. You know, the 2 Immortal Technique CDs. You know, you got Dead Prez coming out later this year with probably maybe another album early next year with the Information Age. But you got the Pulse of the People coming out this Tuesday, so that sounds like it's going to be a very good CD. Dr. Dre, Saigon, and Papoose, all their CDs. And just with Rakim, you don't know when they're ever going to come out, so hopefully those come out sometime down the line. So like I said, just want to come on here and get my thoughts on that, and yeah, that's it. Peace. The first year I can ever remember in a little while that I've actually bought this many CDs right here within, you know, the span of half a year. Now the first album is the only one out of these that I'm going to be talking about that I would say not a recommendation, but it's not a bad album nonetheless. It's the Mass Movements album, The Album. And it's good stuff on there. If you're a fan of Slain and Ill Bill, I would recommend it to fans of them. And it showcases that the Boston area is starting to, you know, start being a hotbed for hip hop right up there. So definitely it's a good CD, and it's a lot of, you know, artists I've never heard of. So overall it's a good CD. Like if I would have to, you know, rate it on like a 5 scale, I would give it probably, you know, 3 out of 5. It's, you know, it's not completely, it's a little above average, I would say. Next album is X-Clan, the Mainstream Outlaws, and this is a very good album. Now, X-Clan, they've been around for a long time, but if you are unfamiliar with X-Clan, the best way to compare them as far as their type of sound, obviously it's, you know, the conscious, political, hip-hop sound. And I would say if you're not familiar with the best people to compare them with is probably a little mix of KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, mixed with a little Dead Prez and Public Enemy as well. So that's the type of sound. If you like those, if you like, you know, KRS-One, if you like Boogie Down Productions, like Public Enemy, you should like X-Clan. It's definitely a very good album, and you should be able to find that one in stores. Now, a lot of these that I'm be talking about might not be able to find in stores because, unfortunately, the way, you know, record stores out now, even, you know, places like Best Buy, Barnes & Nobles, FYE, they're completely terrible at carrying, you know, anything. As in the title of this video is going to be some hip-hop thoughts and some hip-hop recommendations as far as albums this year so far that I would recommend from the hip-hop industry. And actually this year so far has actually been a pretty good year for hip-hop, I would say. Now, as far as within the mainstream, you got like trash like Soulja Boy, Lil Wayne, and stuff like that. But overall, as the industry, as far as the underground and independent circuit right now for hip-hop, it's been very good. Like, I'll show you right now, this is actually